In this video, I'll go over some ways to use multiple masks and keys on a single clip in the color page of DaVinci Resolve. To save time, I'll assume you know how to create masks and keys. Whether you use a magic mask, a qualifier, or a power window, they all create the same thing, a key, which is a grayscale image. For the purposes of illustration, I'll composite this clip over another, so it ends up looking like this. To accomplish this effect, I'll use a qualifier to pull a key of the background and a magic mask to create a mask of the young woman's face and arms. To pull a key of the background, I'll first add a serial node and label it background. Now I'll open the qualifier palette, select RGB mode, and turn on highlighting by pressing Shift-H so I can see what's happening. That's done. I'll turn highlighting off by pressing Shift-H again. To create a mask of her face and arms, I'll add another serial node and label it person. I'll open the Magic Mask palette, toggle the mask overlay, and click on her face and hand to create the mask. Now to track it. We don't need the mask overlay anymore. On the edit page, this clip is laid on top of another clip. To get that clip to show through, we need to add an alpha output. In an empty area of the node editor, I'll right-click and select Add Alpha Output from the menu and connect the key output of the person node to it. We can see her face and arms, but we were after this. What went wrong? Let's open the key palette. Her face and arms are white and everything else black. We need the background to be white as well. So where's the background key? We just need to feed it into the person node. Connect the key output of the background node to the key input of the person node. That will add the keys together. And there we have it. I'll update the key palette by pressing Command-D, Control-D in Windows twice to toggle the node off and on. There's the two keys added together, and we have the result we're after. So in this case, the keys were added together, but it's not always so simple. When feeding a key to a node containing a key created by a qualifier or power window, the keys will not be added together. Instead, only intersecting or overlapping areas will be white and everything else black. This may be what you want, but to add the keys together, select the node the key is being fed into and open its key palette. If this node contains a key created with a power window, both the key input, invert matte, and matte buttons should be turned off. If it contains a key created with a qualifier, then the qualifier matte button should be turned off. Or you can use a key mixer node, which is much simpler. This will be covered shortly. Now, what if we want to make adjustments to the background and to her face and arms separately? I'll select the background node and warm up the color. That's working. Her face and arms are not being affected. Looking at the key palette, only the background is white, so any changes we make will only show up there. Now let's try her face and arms. I'll select the person node and make some adjustments. That's affecting both her and the background. Again, the key palette has the answer. The two keys are added together, so both the background and her face and arms are white. Any changes we make will affect both. To affect just her face and arms, we need to separate the keys, but we also need the keys to be added together to achieve the composite we're after. So we need a way to keep the keys separate and combined at the same time. Fortunately, a key mixer node allows us to do just that. I'll right-click in the node editor and add one in. I'll connect the key outputs of both nodes to the key mixer and connect the output of the key mixer to the alpha output. To add or remove inputs from the key mixer node, right-click on it and select Add one input or Remove one input. You can also drag a connection to it, and a new input will be added automatically. If I select the person node, the key palette shows that only her face and arms are white. And if I select the background node, only the background is white. This means I can select the person node and any changes I make will only affect the white areas of the key, her face and arms. And that is indeed the case. Same for the background node. But we're still getting the desired end result, so the keys are combined somewhere, right? In the key mixer. I'll select its node. The key palette reveals that the keys are added together. What if we want to adjust the background, face, and arms together? How would we do that? One way is to add a serial node after the person node. I'll label it Combined. Now feed the combined key into it by connecting the output of the key mixer to its key input. Looking at the key palette for the combined node, we see that the keys are combined. Now we can adjust her face, arms, and background together. Notice that the key mixer node's output is connected to both the alpha output and the key input of the combined node. This just means we're feeding the same key to both. If you prefer, you can disconnect the key mixer from the alpha output and connect the combined node to it instead. Nothing has changed because the same key is still being fed into the alpha output. There is an alternate way to set this node tree up that might be more intuitive, and that's with the use of a parallel mixer node. The key mixer is still needed. First, I'll disconnect both nodes from the key mixer, then disconnect the person node and connect the green RGB output of the first node to it. Now I'll add a parallel mixer node and attach the background and person nodes to it, and then connect the parallel mixer node to the combined node. And I'll connect the key outputs of the background and person nodes to the key mixer node to recreate our composite. That might be more intuitive, or maybe more confusing. Anyway, we still have our separate and combined keys. The parallel mixer node blends the nodes together equally, so no node takes priority over the others. Inputs can be added or removed just as with a key mixer node. A layer mixer node can be used instead of the parallel mixer node, if you like. What if you want to make multiple corrections or effects on a single key? Let's do that with the background. We'll add an effect. I'll select the background node and add a serial node. To affect just the background, we need to use the key we created in the background node in the new node. So how would we do that? Easy. Feed the key from the background node to the new node. If we select the new node and open the key palette, only the background should be white. I'll go ahead and add a flicker addition effect. There are some tricks we can do with the key mixer. I'll select it. In the key palette, notice that we have input link 1 and input link 2. Input link 1 is the top input where the background node's key output is connected, and input link 2 is the bottom input where the person node's key output is connected. We can adjust the opacity of the white and black areas of a key. To make the background less opaque, we can lower gain on input link 1. This is the background key. The white background is taking on deepening shades of gray. To change the opacity of the woman's face and arms, we can adjust gain for input link 2. This is the mask or key of her face and arms. Raising gain above 1 has no effect because 1 is white, and white is as bright as you can get. Offset affects both white and black areas. To reset the fields to their defaults, double-click on their labels. Similar results can be achieved on the key palettes of the individual nodes. In that case, adjust the gain and offset under Key Output. To invert a key, click the Invert Map button. To invert the entire combined key, click the Invert Map button under Output Link. Clicking the Map button will result in areas where the keys overlap or intersect, becoming white, and everywhere else black. The keys don't intersect in this example, so everything becomes black. Here's an example where the keys do intersect. To subtract a key, turn on both the Invert Matte and Matte buttons for the key to be subtracted. In this example, to subtract the background key, turn on the Invert Matte and Matte buttons for Input Link 1. You can play around with these buttons to achieve other results. So there's a few tips on working with multiple keys on a single clip. I hope you found it helpful. Thank you for watching.